I mean, we're looking at something that is 6 to 9 miles below the surface of the Earth. It's enormous. We never thought that the magma chamber could be that big. The caldera of a volcano like Yellowstone may have looked like a crazy place with hot springs. However, it's much more than that. It's a supervolcano capable of devastating a continent, and right now it's like a sleeping beast, waiting to be awakened. We need to recognize the seriousness of what we're witnessing. Recently, a massive 100-foot wide crack showed up on the supervolcano below Yellowstone National Park. Scientists have issued a massively increased risk of a sudden eruption as a result of this abrupt alteration. When that eruption happens, it will be a catastrophe. Let's examine some important facts about the relevant regions, including Steamboat and Norris Giza Basin, to gain a better understanding of the situation. Norris Basin is one of Yellowstone's oldest heat refuges with thermal features dating back an impressive 11,500 years. The temperature here attains a scorching 459 degrees Fahrenheit, just 1,000 feet below the surface. With this basin, we find amazing things. Giza Steamboat, present tall at 400 feet, it used to be a rare sight, bursting occasionally with unpredictable pauses of 4 days to 50 years. However, since March 2018, things have changed significantly. The steamboat now erupts as often as once a week, and a record-breaking 32 eruptions in 2018, and an unbelievable 48 eruptions the following year. This raises a significant question. Is the increase in steamboats eruptions somehow associated with the rise of the risk of a sudden eruption? Let's examine this issue further, because it turns out that the Giza's erratic behavior is only a small portion of the whole story. Scientists are fascinated by the rhythmic movements of the basin itself. Over 8 years from 1996, an 18-mile-long take of land rose almost 5 inches, only to sink back down by almost 3 inches in the following 8 years. Then unexpectedly it surged up again at an unprecedented rate. In March of 2014, a powerful 4.9 magnitude earthquake raised the basin, halting this continuous uplift. Since then, the ground has been moving between sinking and rising until 2019, when it finally started to fall. Even now, the basin sits about 5 inches taller than it did in 2000. But could there be another factor leading up to 320% increase? The hint lies in what a supervolcano means: super extinction. An eruption of this supervolcano below Yellowstone National Park would be unlike anything the world has ever seen. Although the Yellowstone supervolcano has exploded only 3 times in the past 2.1 million years, it poses an important danger. The last eruption, which happened 640,000 years ago, produced toxic gases that might destroy crops and interrupt electricity supplies to the Midwest. The aftermath would bring extremely cold temperatures, as a poisonous cloud would block the sun for years. Recently, cracks have begun to appear, as seen in the closing of Grand Teton National Park in 2018. Due to a massive crack and potential safety concerns, this is in close contact with the Yellowstone supervolcano, incorporating the concern. Supervolcanoes are an extreme catastrophe raising humanity, just like asteroids, nuclear warfare, or biological disasters. However, it seems like this threat may not be taken seriously enough as it might be. While aviation accidents may happen, they don't pose a danger to wipe out 10% of the world's population. Unlike a potential supervolcano eruption, this issue demands urgent attention and preparation to avoid a devastating catastrophe. In contrast to the volcanic initiatives, the Federal Aviation Administration spends over $7 billion a year on aviation security. But here's the item: supervolcanoes can cause far more casualties than aircraft catastrophes in the long run. Yet we tend to overlook these dangerous threats, leaving ourselves at risk of unforeseen dangers. Directly above Yellowstone National Park lies an immense active volcano that demands attention. While the park has been within since 1872, scientists weren't entirely sure of the size of the volcano until the 1960s. It wasn't until the 1980s that they realized it was still active and presented a potential catastrophic eruption danger. The Mount St. Helens explosion in 1980 was dwarfed by the eruptions of Yellowstone, which can be 1,000 times more powerful. Geologists are now eager to learn what is taking place beneath the park's hot springs and geysers. They want to know if Yellowstone will burst again. when it might happen, and how severe the eruption could be. This is an unlikely but consequence event like an archetypal black swan with a chance to impact both society and the Earth. Although it's not ruled out completely, these massive supervolcano eruptions are incredibly rare and challenging to find hidden kilometers below the surface. Recently, a research team revealed the secrets of the architecture of Yellowstone, replicating how lava rises from the center of the Earth and forms two sizable chambers of partially burned rock. The newly acquired information will help scientists in the process of trying to understand and prepare for the potential risks posed by the supervolcano. Underneath the outermost layer of the park, there are two magma chambers placed on top of each other, with non-melted rock between them. The lava passing from the Earth's mantle is smooth and contains little gas. The upper chamber situated on top is filled with thick, sticky, and dangerous magma that holds a lot of gas. It resembles an unopened shaken soda that can, well, explode. A recent study clarifies how this two-tiered and chemically diverse structure might have been established over time. The study was released in Geophysical Research Letters. Scientists hope that one day they're going to have a model showing how the system would appear during the significant eruption once enough melting has occurred. The model is interesting because it lets them go back in time and comprehend how the rate of eruptions may have changed millions of years ago. This discovery is consistent with earlier research on the two magma chambers under the park. Geologists made sure to use the sensors scattered around Yellowstone to gauge how quickly seismic waves from small earthquakes are moving through the rock below. The waves slow down as they go over constructions made of partially melted and heated granite. Scientists produced a mirror-like image of the two magma chambers using the data. Supervolcano is an interesting non-technical term. A volcano that generates calderas, or huge craters brought on by volcanic activity, is the source of the term caldera for Yellowstone. These calderas are capable of devouring entire mountains. In fact, if you examine the map of the park, you'll see that the central area is devoid of mountains. They were either blown away by previous eruptions or collapsed into the enormous crater. The first significant eruption in the Yellowstone region happened roughly 2.1 million years ago. The newest one occurred 630,000 years ago. There are now worries that a fourth eruption could be imminent, with a large risk of increasing up to 320%. The exact timing of a caldera-forming eruption, however, it is difficult to predict. But that doesn't mean that there isn't any activity going on within the Yellowstone system. Lava flows and other somewhat modest eruptions happen often. The newest one happened about 70,000 years ago. Therefore, despite the rarity of huge eruptions, smaller, destructive, and fatal eruptions could still happen and might even enhance the chance of a sudden major eruption. It's crucial to keep in mind that volcanoes are unpredictable natural phenomena. They act in strange ways. This uncertainty ought to cause all of us great concern. Additionally, the Long Valley caldera in California next to Mammoth Mountain is another noteworthy caldera in the nation. Yellowstone is not the only one. Even while massive eruptions are uncommon, lesser eruptions can still occur and be disruptive and dangerous. It last erupted roughly 700,000 years ago. Along the San Andreas Fault, California features a number of volcanic regions with molten rock zones beneath the surface. Although a major volcanic eruption is improbable, the fault line in the state makes it more vulnerable to strong earthquakes. If the Yellowstone supervolcano erupted, it would release a tremendous amount of ash and sulfur into the atmosphere, possibly damaging crops and changing the climate. Let us know in the comments below what you think about this alarming situation. See you in the next one!